Give me 1 second. I'm getting things together real quick. Okay. Do we have everyone here? Looks like I can't see
Yeah,
everybody.
people are still coming over. No, people are still coming
Okay.
over, convening.
Can you let me know when folks are here?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, board chair, looks like everyone is now convened.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Chair Janet Richardson. I'd like to welcome you all to the February 23rd special public board meeting of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. If you have not yet done so, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff, please turn your video off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record. I will go through this same roll call for each vote. Commissioner McFadden?
Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Here.
Commissioner Coy?
Present.
Commissioner Esposito?
Present.
Commissioner Griffin? Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Present.
Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Roberts?
Here.
Commissioner Sally? Okay. Is he not here? Okay. I am here. That makes us 9 present with 2 absent. Is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
So move, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner
Board
Sally.
board chair, he is here. Commissioner Sally is here. I think he's having a problem with his mute.
Okay, Commissioner Sally, I want to count you for the record. So that makes us 10 present with 1 absent. Thank you. And thank you for the motion, Commissioner Sally, to reopen the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent. We will now move to the renewal recommendations. So I want to turn this over to Angela Alvarez.
Good
Hi,
evening.
I'm Angela Alvarez. I'm the Executive Director of the Office of New Initiatives, and I'm joined by Trevor
Good evening. I'm Trevor Roberts. I'm a specialist in the Office of New Initiatives.
and Chief Jones.
Were you able to hear me?
No.
Okay, my apologies. Teresa Jones, Chief Achievement and Accountability Officer.
Tonight, we are going to look at the operator renewal recommendations, and the board will be taking their votes on those recommendations. Baltimore City Schools has a strong partnership with our charter and other operator-led schools, as shown by the large percentage of these schools that operate in this district, making up 65% of charter schools in the state of Maryland, and our record in recent years of opening new schools, as you can see here. Part of that commitment is the operator renewal process, which started in its present form in 2011. The renewal process is meant to ensure that schools are fulfilling commitment to students and the district, and to recognize the strengths of charters and other operator-led schools and identify areas where there's still opportunity for improvement. The renewal process looks at the performance of charters and other operator-led schools every 3, 5, or 8 years to ensure that they are offering high-quality educational options for the students of Baltimore City. And the recommendations that we are going to present were developed using the renewal rubric, the school's applications for renewal, data tables, the school effectiveness review, and the 5 essential student and teacher survey.
This process starts with our charter and operator-led schools advisory board. So at first, I just want to acknowledge the members of that board. It's a volunteer board, very much like our board of school commissioners. And so these are folks who dedicate an incredible amount of time and energy and whose role it is to provide advice to the CEO on these recommendations, as well as other issues that impact our operator community. And so I just want to just acknowledge their role in this and thank them for all their efforts and hard work. I think they've helped us to have a strong, thorough process, and have been have given good guidance to the CEO and helping her develop her recommendations. The second level of review is the CEO administrative review. On February 14th, we announced the CEO's official recommendations, which considers the advice of the advisory board, the quantitative and qualitative review that Trevor described, as well as the materials and work session and the materials submitted by school community. And tonight we're here with the board, who has the ultimate role of making the decision. And so the board, is going to be considering the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at board meetings and work sessions, and the complete contents of the official record. So everything that Trevor shared, everything that school communities themselves have submitted to the school board in accordance with the rules of those submissions are all for consideration tonight. And so this is just a summary of the key dates in the process. And so we are here at the night for the vote. Also, just before we get into, you can go to the next slide, but just before we get into the recommendations, I just want to acknowledge our schools. This is really hard work. And so folks taking on the desire and effort to serve our students in our city is important work. It's complex work. And so it's why we have a quantitative and qualitative process. A process is considering numeric kind of data like assessments and surveys, but also that is considering what community is sharing. So, focus groups, site visits, letters from community, testimony from community, more qualitative features. Because the work of schools is complex, and I think every one of these schools has made a sincere effort to serve students, and so the board has a tough decision before them. But I just want to acknowledge that this is hard before we get into the recommendations.
Okay, Angela, is there anything you'd like to say before I start with the first recommendation?
Nope, you go ahead and begin with sharing the highlights.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So the first set of recommendations this evening are related to Hampstead Hill Academy. Hampstead Hill Academy is a charter school that serves students in grades pre-K through 8 that is operated by the Baltimore Curriculum Project. In looking at their data through the renewal process, they were rated highly effective in the area of academics and climate. and effective in the area of financial management and governance. And while a few of their highlights are noted here on the slide, I'd like to call attention to a few in particular. First and foremost, their performance on the absolute measure of the MCAP, which is the Maryland Comprehensive Assessment Program, where their students had an average performance level of a level 3 on the English Language Arts assessment, indicating that the students demonstrate proficiency and are prepared for the next grade level or course and are on track for college and career readiness. On that same measure for mathematics, they were rated developing. As it relates to the other measures noted here, note that they were rated highly effective in PARCC growth for all of the grade bands. So that is noteworthy, looking at English Language Arts, where they were in the 93rd percentile. For grades 3 through 5, for grades 6 to 8, they were in the 96th percentile. In mathematics, for grades 3 to 5, they were in the 95th percentile, and they were at the top of the district when it comes to their growth for grades 6 to 8 in mathematics. Furthermore, they were rated highly effective in the Fidelity to Charter and application overall measure, as well as on the 5 Essential Survey, indicating that they are well organized for improvement. And they were also noted as being highly effective in suspensions, where the school has many intervention and strategies that have kept suspensions low over the course of the contract term. Recognizing that this is the board's opportunity to vote on renewal recommendations, I will turn it over to Ms. Alvarez to refer to the script as she shares the specific recommendation this evening.
And just for members of the public, we have a script that makes sure we say all the things we need to say on the record, but the board has full ability to do whatever they want to do in terms of their vote. It's just to make sure that we're on the record about all the factors that are considered. In accordance with the charter school policy and law, and based on consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, it is a recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Baltimore Curriculum Project, Inc. to operate Hampstead Hill Academy be renewed for 8 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023 and ends on June 30th, 2031.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Do any commissioners have questions for staff? I don't see any hands raised. Okay. I will now open the floor to commissioners for discussions of the recommendation. If there are any discussions and maybe not questions.
I move that based upon the consideration of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, the contents of the official record, and the factors listed in policy IHBJ.
There's a Dorsey, a last name Dorsey from BLSYW. Thank you.
RA, including section 3K of the policy, providing that the board may decide that a public charter school not eligible for 2 consecutive partial renewals, that the board accept the CEO's recommendation as stated.
Is there a second?
Second, Robert.
Thank you. Give me 1 second. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent. Ms. Alvarez?
For our next recommendation, we're going to take a look at the Empowerment Academy, which is operated by the Empowerment Center Incorporated. This is also a charter school, and it serves students in grades pre-K through 8. Based on the renewal process this year, this school was considered effective in all 3 categories of academics, climate, and financial management and governance. Some key highlights for their performance include a developing rating for the absolute MCAP performance, where their students were performing at an average level of a level 2, meaning that students demonstrate partial proficiency and need additional academic support to ensure success in the next grade level and to be on track for college and career readiness. They were rated highly effective in their growth measures. So 95th percentile for English language arts grades 3 to 5, the 100th percentile for English language arts grades 6 to 8. And then for mathematics, they were in the 93rd and 68th percentiles respectively for grades 3 through 5, which put them in a highly effective category, and then effective in the category for grades 6 to 8. When we take a look at fidelity to charter and application overall, as well as suspensions, they were also given a highly effective rating, and they were given a developing rating in the area of audit content and internal controls. And this was due to low levels of liquidity and cash on hand in the years that were covered by the audit review. However, we do note that the school has been awarded an expansion grant to fund its previously approved enrollment expansion, which increases liquidity moving forward. At this time, I will turn it over to Ms. Alvarez.
In accordance with the charter school policy and law, and based on the consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session, and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, it is a recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Empowerment Center, Inc. to operate Empowerment Academy be renewed for 8 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023 and ends on June 30th, 2031, with the condition that audit reviews be conducted by city schools in years 3 and 6 of the contract.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Do any commissioners have questions or comments at this time? Okay, I don't see anyone. Is there a motion?
I move that based upon the consideration of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, the contents of the official record, and the factors listed in policy IHBJ and administrative regulation IHBJ-RA, that the board accept the CEO's recommendation as stated.
Is there a second?
Second, Robert.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent. Ms. Alvarez?
Next school we are going to look at is Midtown Academy. It is a charter school operated by Midtown Academy, Inc., serving grades K through 8. In the renewal review, it was rated effective in all 3 categories of the rubric: academics, climate, and financial management and governance. Some highlights are that the school is rated effective in the absolute MCAP rating for ELA in both elementary and middle grades, with students performing at an average level of 3, meaning that they demonstrate proficiency and are prepared for the next grade level. The school is already developing an absolute MCAP for math at both grade levels, with an average performance level of 2, meaning students demonstrate partial proficiency and need additional academic supports. The school was highly effective in PARCC growths for ELA grades 3 through 5, the 95th percentile, and grades 6 through 8 in the 82nd percentile, and for math, grades 3 through 5 in the 89th percentile. The school was rated effective in math grades 6 through 8 in the 70th percentile. The school was rated effective in fidelity to charter and overall application, highly effective in the 5 essential survey, indicating the school is well organized for improvement in the future, and developing an audit content and internal controls, where there was some years where the school's expenses exceeded revenues. However, the school has kept sufficient cash on hand despite that, and is conditionally approved for state grant dollars to expand their enrollment. And I will hand over to Ms. Alvarez for the official recommendation.
In consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, it is the recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Midtown Academy, Inc. to operate Midtown Academy be renewed for 8 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023, and it ends on June 30, 2031, with the condition that audit reviews be conducted by city schools in years 3 and 6 of the contract.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Are there any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that based upon the consideration of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, that the board accept the CEO's recommendations as stated.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. This motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent. Ms. Alvarez?
Okay, our next school is the Crossroads School, operated by Living Classrooms. It is a charter serving grades 6 through 8. And again, the school was rated effective in all 3 areas of the renewal review: academics, climate, and financial management and governance. The school is rated developing in MCAP scores, where the average student performance level for students in both ELA and math was 2. They were highly effective in part growth for math in the 89th percentile, and developing for ELA in the 57th percentile. They were effective in fidelity to charter and application overall, highly effective in the 5 essential survey, effective in student attendance chronic absence, where the school had effective strategies and interventions in place that have kept chronic absence rates low over the course of the contract, and they were developing an effective programming for all student, racial, and ethnic groups.
In accordance with charter school policy and law, and based on consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, it is the recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Living Classrooms, Inc. to operate the Crossroads School be renewed for 8 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023, and ends on June 30 of 2031.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that based upon the consideration of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, contents of the official record, and the factors listed in policy IHBJ and administrative regulation IHBJ-RA, that the board accept the CEO's recommendations as stated.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a second?
Second, Roberts.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
and I am in favor. That motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent. Ms. Alvarez?
Next, we have the Patterson Park Public Charter School, which is operated by Patterson Park Public Charter School Incorporated. It's a charter school that serves students in grades K through 8. They were rated effective in the academics category, highly effective in climate, and effective in the financial management and governance category. A few of their highlights include a developing rating for their performance on the absolute measure of the MCAP, where their average performance level for students in both ELA and mathematics was a level 2, indicating partial proficiency. For their part growth, they were rated highly effective for students in grades 3 through 5 for the English Language Arts Assessment, where they were at the 98th percentile. They were developing for students in grades 6 to 8 for ELA at the 61st percentile. And then they were effective for math for both grades 3 through 5 and grades 6 to 8. They were highly effective in the Fidelity to Charter and Application Overall Measure, as well as in the Vision and Engagement Measure from the School Effectiveness Review. They were also rated as effective in the 5 Essential Survey, indicating that the school is organized for improvement in the future. Ms. Alvarez?
In accordance with charter school policy and law, and based on consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, it is a recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Patterson Park Public Charter School, Inc. to operate Patterson Public Charter School be renewed for 8 years for a term that commences on July 1st, 2023 and ends on June 30th, 2031.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Are there any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that based upon the considerations of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, the contents of the official record, and the factors listed in policy IHBJ and administrative regulation IHBJ-RA, that the board accept the CEO's recommendation as stated.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay. All in favor, Commissioner McFadden,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
and I am in favor. That motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent.
Next up is Baltimore International Academy, operated by Baltimore International Academy, Inc. They are a K-8. They were rated developing in academics and effective in both climate and financial management and governance of the renewal. Similar to other schools, they're developing in absolute MCAP, where the average performance level for students in ELA was a level 2. Meaning students demonstrate partial proficiency. They were highly effective in PARCC growth for ELA for grades 3 through 5, where they're in the 90th percentile. For middle grades, where they're in the 76th percentile. They were not effective in PARCC growth for math, where they were in the 39th percentile for elementary grades and 45th percentile for middle grades. They were effective in Fidelity to Charter overall. They were not effective in the 5 essentials, meaning the school's only partially organized for improvement. And they were effective in both chronic absence and suspensions, meaning the school has strategies, practices, and supports in place that lead to improved outcomes for students in both areas of those measures. And so therefore, in accordance with charter school policy and law, and based on consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, it is a recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Baltimore International Academy, Inc. to operate Baltimore International Academy be renewed for 3 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023 and ends on June 30th, 2026.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Are there any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that based upon the considerations of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, the contents of the official record, and the factors listed in policy IHBJ and administrative regulation IHBJ-RA, that the board accept the CEO's recommendation as stated.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Esposito, second.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. This motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent.
Next is Reach Partnership School, operated by Civic Works, Inc. They are effective in each area of the rubric, and so in academics, climate, financial management, and governance. They're highly effective in the 5 essentials, which shows the school's well organized for improvement. Remember, the 5 essentials is predictive of school success. It's research backed to show that schools that are strong in that have 10 times more chance of improving outcomes than other schools. They're effective in Fidelity Charter overall. They're developing in absolute MCAT performance for the English 10 test, where students were at level 2, similar to other schools, meaning students demonstrate partial proficiency. For algebra, similar to many schools, students were at level 1, meaning students do not yet demonstrate proficiency and need additional academic support. They're developing in the 4-year cohort grad rate, which belies really significant improvement, moving students' cohort graduation rate from 61% in 2018-19 to 74% in 2021 for a 3-year average of 71%. They're developing in college and career readiness, being in the 59th percentile. The school's rate of participation for this measure is 71.6%. Rate of success is 46.6%. For the class of 2021, 25% of the class of 2020 were enrolled in college within 16 months of graduation. These CCR measures are a vast improvement from the prior time they were up for renewal. They were highly effective instruction, highly effective and talented people, vision engagement from the school effectiveness review. And therefore, in accordance with charter school policy and law, and based on consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, is the recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Civic Works, Inc. to operate the Reach Partnership School be renewed for 5 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023 and ends on June 30th, 2028.
I'm very happy to concur with the recommendation as stated.
Are there any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners? Okay, I don't see any hands. Is there a motion?
I move that based upon the consideration of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, the contents of the official record, and the factors listed in policy IHBJ and administrative regulation IHBJ-RA, including section 3.K, the policy providing that the board may decide that a public charter school is not eligible for 2 years consecutive partial renewals, that the board accept the CEO's recommendation as stated.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a second?
second, Robert.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. All in favor, Commissioner McFadden,
Absolutely.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
and I am in favor. That motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent.
Next, we have the Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women, operated by the Foundation for Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women, Incorporated. This is a charter school that serves students in grades 6 through 12. They were rated developing in the academics category and effective in both climate and the financial management and governance categories. They were highly effective in their 4-year cohort graduation rate, where their average for the 3 years was 97%. They were developing for the 2022 absolute MCAP, where their students' average performance level was a level 2 in the areas of English language arts 6 to 8, English language arts 10, and math 6 to 8. Again, a level 2 indicating that students are demonstrating partial proficiency. And in Algebra 1, the average student performance level was a 1, meaning that students do not yet demonstrate proficiency and need substantial academic support to be prepared for the next grade level or course and to be on track for college and career readiness. They were rated not effective in college and career readiness based on their placement in the 41st percentile. And that looks at a number of measures around participation and success. And as noted, their rate of participation was 30.6% and success was 22.4% as we look at readiness for the class of 2021. However, we do note that they did have a high rate of college enrollment, which was 82% for the class of 2020. They were also rated effective in the area of suspensions and developing in the area of student attendance and chronic absence. Ms. Alvarez?
In accordance with charter school policy and law, and based on consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session, and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, it is the recommendation of the CEO that the contract with the Foundation for Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women, Inc., to operate Baltimore Leadership School for Young Women be renewed for 3 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023, and ends on June 30th, 2026.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Are there any questions or comments from my fellow colleagues? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that based upon the consideration of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work sessions and public hearings, the contents of the official record, the factors listed in policy IHBJ and administrative regulation IHBJ-RA, that the board accept the recommendations, the CEO's recommendations as stated.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a second?
Second.
Wait a minute, who? Second, who said, was that Coy?
I think it was Sally.
I did.
Boy.
I did say, yeah, second point.
Okay, I'll take Commissioner Coy. I'm sorry, I missed that one. All in favor, Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Griffin? I'm sorry, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. That motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent.
Their next school is Lily Mae Carroll Jackson School, operated by Girls Charter School, Inc. It is a charter serving grades 5 through 8. School is rated developing in academics and effective in climate and financial management and governance. The school is rated developing in the absolute MCAP scores, where the average performance level for students for ELA was a level 2, similar to other schools, meaning students demonstrate partial proficiency. and need additional academic support to ensure success in the next grade level. For math, the school is an average level of 1, meaning students do not yet demonstrate proficiency and need substantial academic support to be prepared for the next grade level. The school was not effective in part growth for math in the 32nd percentile and ELA in the 46th percentile. It was developing in fidelity to charter and application overall, but it was effective in student attendance and effective in the talented people and the vision and engagement measures from the school effectiveness review.
In accordance with charter school policy and law, and based on consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, and the content of the official record, it is a recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Girls Charter School, Inc. to operate Lily Mae Carroll Jackson School be renewed for 3 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023 and ends on June 30th, 2026.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Are there any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners? Okay, seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that based upon the consideration of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, the contents of the official record, and the factors listed in policy IHBJ and administrative regulation IHBJ-RA, including section 3.K of the policy, providing that the board may decide that a public charter school is not eligible for 2 consecutive partial renewals, that the board accept the CEO's recommendation as stated.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I am in favor. This motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent.
Next, we have Baltimore Collegiate Schools for Boys, operated by Five Smooth Stones Foundation, Inc. They serve students in grades 4 through 8. In each area of the rubric, they were rated developing, so developing in academics, climate, and financial management and governance. There are some, this is a recommendation as conditions that will re-articulate when we get to the recommendations. We can go to the next slide. And so some highlights for this school, they're developing an absolute MCAP, meaning for ELA, their students, similar to other schools, were a level 2, where they demonstrate partial proficiency. For math, the average level was a level 1, meaning students do not yet demonstrate proficiency and need substantial support. They were developing in part growth for math grades 3 through 5, being in the 52nd percentile, and for middle grades being in the 62nd percentile. They were not effective for growth in both their elementary grades, where they were at the 20th percentile, and middle grades, where they were at the 46th percentile for English language arts. They were not effective in operator capacity. This measure considers whether schools had challenges in meeting critical district, federal, and state requirements in a variety of areas, including management of grant funds. This operator has made some significant changes to leadership that gives some faith in future improvement within the school. And we're seeing some improvement, particularly in the area of culture and climate. But the concerns are significant. They're not, I just want to be again clear on the record, these are not clerical concerns. These are about actual impacts to students. So this is a school that's had challenges with ensuring they were offering required courses over multiple years of the contract. So meaning not consistently offering science, not consistently offering social studies, not consistently offering foreign language. This is a school that's had challenges with grant funds. And so We had to forfeit close to $500,000 in grant funds because they weren't properly fulfilling all of the requirements there. This is a school that's had issues with making sure that students were getting their full due process rights when it comes to suspensions. And so making sure they're following the processes that are required to make sure that students have their due process and that parents are aware when students are being suspended. And there's a full consideration of all the factors before there's decision-making around suspensions, and that the district is properly notified, including for students with disabilities. So there's been a number of serious concerns with this school across a number of different areas, including with following collective bargaining agreements and ensuring that staff has been properly background checked or in positions that they're qualified for that are not in violation of the CBA. The school was effective in vision and engagement from the school effectiveness review and not effective in programming for students with disability, which is another area of concern, meaning the operators failed to sufficiently implement processes, interventions, and strategies that support student outcomes and have required fake meetings for students due to challenges in this area. And so these are serious concerns. There is faith because of really serious steps they took around leadership changes, which leads to the CEO's recommendation tonight, which is based on the consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, and the content of the official record. Is the recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Five Smooth Stones Foundation, Inc. to operate Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys be renewed for 3 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023 and ends on June 30th, 2026, with the following conditions. The operator hires personnel located in the Baltimore area and approved by city schools who is knowledgeable in K-12 education and requirements for public and charter schools in the state of Maryland. The operator shows improvement in the delivery of special education services and ensures complete compliance with requirements, improvement in practices around student behavior and ensuring complete compliance with due process for students, ensure complete compliance with the scheduling of COMAR required courses, ensure complete compliance with collective bargain agreements, ensuring complete compliance with grant management, and demonstrates overall significant improvement in the area of operator capacity. That the operator provide on-site EEOC training to improve practices in creating positive workplace atmosphere for staff, and that these sessions be held both for the leadership team and operator leadership team, as well as school staff, and that they're scheduled and take place prior to the end of this current school year. That the operator hires an external financial expert approved by city schools to ensure the operator's management of funds meets legal and fiduciary requirements, including improving in the area of internal controls and use of management of grant and other funds.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Are there any questions or comments from my fellow board commissioners? I see Commissioner Chinya's hand.
Yes, thank you. And thank you. And I agree with the conditions that were listed. I do have two questions. I mean, I'll say one question especially. And if it's possible in terms of adding to the conditions, a specific plan around actually the staffing concern that I had at the last session with the operators and the staff. In looking at the numbers that were given to us, it was just at 50% of staff that was actually certified, and was not a very strong strategy in terms of recruitment, the strategy for recruiting and having certified teachers in all of the classes. And when I look at the tests, at the assessment scores, I think that's an important component to that one. So I don't know if you can help in terms of making certain that that's very clear as a part of the conditions.
Can I just repeat back just for understanding?
Mhm.
So it sounds like you want to add a condition that the school submit a plan approved by city schools, a strong recruitment plan, to ensure they have more than 50% of staff certified teaching within the school.
Thank you, yes. My second comment is really not a recommendation, but just my own concern that this would be the second occasion where we're looking at a 3-year renewal proposal with conditions, and that just concerns me greatly, and I just need to put that out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Chinya. I want to join you in that concern. I don't know how many times we offer the same operator conditional approvals, and we'll be coming up on another 3 years that young people we got to cross our fingers and hope that this operator would be able to turn things around. Definitely am not pleased with the special needs and the ways in which that's been handled, the managing of funds. So I have great concerns about this particular operator. And I just want to also make that clear by everything that all the research we've received and all of the conversations that we have had. I am concerned as well. Are there any other questions or comments? Commissioner Roberts?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just pose the question for my colleagues on the board. While I appreciate the system's attempt to offer these conditions, which they're very targeted, very prescriptive, how realistic is it for us to actually see some traction in those areas? Sharing again in my apprehensiveness, I'm not particularly sure that I'm confident that with this particular team that we would see improvements in those significant improvements in those very targeted areas. So I would pose that to district staff as well as to my colleagues. How realistic would those conditions be for this current version of that leadership team to provide improvements in those areas?
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, CEO.
I just wanted to make sure, because Commissioner Roberts, you did sound as if that wasn't a rhetorical question, but was it?
No, it's a real question.
Okay, no, I wanted to make sure. So, I will emphatically restate, as Ms. Alvarez did, that we too have serious concerns. I think really what drove this recommendation was the swiftness with which the operator made very hard decisions and did replace leaders, which frankly not everybody does or is willing to do. I think what the likelihood of them being able to do this, in my mind, directly corresponds with their willingness to receive and implement outside supports and to actually implement those with fidelity, and frankly, to be somewhat humble about the kind of work that needs to be done. And I will just say that, a 3-year runway is enough time for them to show that they can do that. And if they can't, I will be back recommending that they not be renewed for another 3 years. But it is time. And again, the likelihood, we have other schools that have turned around, both traditional and charter, in that time period. It is long enough runway. And but I will say the likelihood is going to be directly connected to their willingness to frankly receive the kind of expertise and feedback, and not, it's not my job as CEO to dictate to a charter how they implement school improvement. That's why they're a charter. But I will say that in my estimation, in my conversations and what I have seen, that's what's going to be necessary. Is for them to spend the time implementing and less time kind of trying to either experiment with stuff or leave it to the side. But I don't take the shift in climate. I was there when what the climate looked like previously, and it was scary and challenging to say the least. And it's a marked difference now.
Thank you.
I see Commissioner Reeds, but I do want to, before you go, Commissioner Reed, I just want to say to the CEO, this feels very heavy-handed from the system. And I thought that charters are supposed to bring and elevate, right, through their charter and their work, creative things to the district. And it kind of feels like we're running, and this may be heavy-handed for me to say this, but it feels very, very heavy-handed, like they've got to come to us for all of these major approvals to run a school when their charter dictates that they're the ones that's supposed to be running the school. So I appreciate that we are willing to kind of get in it with our charter schools, because after all, it is about our young people. But I personally don't really have confidence that this particular operator can stand on their own independently and really turn a school around. So that's just me, but I want to get to Commissioner Reed and I want to get to Commissioner Sally after him.
Commissioner, if I could just say, Madam Chair, just one thing to that, because I think it is important and we kind of inferred it at an earlier meeting, at a previous meeting. And I will tell you, one of the things that I have directed our staff to do is to actually document the amount of time that staff outside of that charter school are in there with support. And that will be part of our documentation. If it exceeds a certain level, I'm ready to charge back for that time. Because to your point, I too, and I just want you to know, and I want the boards to know and the public to know that is problematic. And I have directed the staff to clock their hours over there, because if it turns out that we are spending and we continuing to spend, because we already spend disproportionate amounts of time in that school relative to, frankly, to traditional schools, that is something that we will document and that I will review very closely for exactly the reason you said, because a charter agreement is one that states exactly what you have said, that you are supposed to outperform based on the freedoms that you receive. And if it means that central staff is frankly giving more time that far exceeds the amount that charters are charged for any kind of district administrative support, then I will take, additional action.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Reed, and then Commissioner Sally, and then Commissioner Esposito.
Commissioner Reed, you're muted.
You're on mute, Vernon. Sorry.
First, I'd like to thank Angela Alvarez and her team, Tracy Carter and her group, for the hard work they've put into this effort. I mean, it's been a labor of love for them, and I appreciate it. One thing sticks out for me is that they recently hired Dr. Barney Wilson in the summer of 22, which is fairly recent. My problem is not so much with the principal, it's basically the operator, but hopefully we can get something done there. I guess the other thing is, as Dr. Sanzalisa mentioned, there has been some improvement in terms of climate and culture. So maybe the trend is our friend. And lastly, because Angela and her team have spent so much effort and time, and I've been working with those guys, I guess, since 2018, I tend to trust their opinion. So I mean, I just appreciate it and I follow it. And Angela and I have talked offline and online about her plans and how she puts their feet to the fire, and I'm good with it. So as I reiterate, Angela, thank you and your team and the effort you guys have done, and I trust your opinions. Thank you.
So I think I'm up next. So one of the concerns that I have, just echo some comments that were shared earlier in terms of, what our expectations are for charters in terms of living out their charters. And when we see the severity and the level of things that they've been cited for before and the conditions that are before us today, I'm not sure that I'm seeing or have enough confidence in what the operator is presenting in terms of ensuring that they're able to provide a really high quality education for their students. And then secondarily, that charters are also able to be a part of kind of uplifting all of city schools when I see conditions like this. And so it is, I am very concerned in terms of what we're seeing today from the operator that really leads us to believe that they can deliver on their charter as it's outlined, both to the city schools, scholars, and their families today. So just wanted to provide those comments. Thank you. Can I, and one last closing comment too, is that just a recognition to something that Dr. Santelice said and shared earlier, is the, amount of support. While we recognize all schools will need a level of support and capacity building, I'm concerned that there's an disproportionate level of support that the school may need in order to continue in its operations. And so even with a 3-year recommendation with conditions, the amount of support that they may need to continue is very concerning and provides a drain on city schools' resources. So thank you.
Commissioner Esposito and then Commissioner Brooks.
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for giving the historic context about the improvement that's been made with the climate and culture, because for me personally, I feel like that's such an important element. I feel like without that, like everything else kind of falls apart. And so I do kind of believe that they've done the most uncomfortable work in correcting that. But I had like a question. So as far as the approval and oversight that comes with that partnership of city schools, the school is responsible for the recruiting, vetting, hiring, and the day-to-day operations for the conditions that are listed. And also the other question that I have is, since they made that hard leadership change, is it fair to say that the relationship and partnership between city schools and Baltimore Collegiate has been effective?
Well, I think Commissioner Esposito, look, they're, I don't want to speak on behalf of the operator, and both Ms. Carter and Ms. Alvarez work with them far more closely and frequently than I do. I think the fact that we have put forth this recommendation should count for something in terms of that working relationship, right? Because let's be clear, given all this other data, this would not have been my recommendation. So, you'd have to get into the particulars of that, and I'm sure others can speak to that. What I will say is that we will be evaluating, again, very closely. I will be evaluating how much time central team is spending over there. We will not be giving the same amount of time that we have in the past, because it's not fair. It's not fair to the other schools. So the relationship is such that I think there's open communication. I think that there are certain differences of opinion, but I think that's normal, and that's true with traditional schools as well. And I think that is part of it. But I think the working relationship and the communication, like I've spoken, with both the principal and the operator a couple members of I think the board, but they can correct me if I'm wrong. And so I think that is the foundation to relationship. But relationship cannot mean that we are now responsible for providing inordinate amounts of support over a long period of time. And I think that's what we're going to have to work through, because that we cannot do. But Ms. Alvarez, you might want to speak to that more than I, since you and Ms. Carter have far more day-to-day working relationship.
Yeah, I think, with the changes, like the big change they made last year was significant. And so we've had really regular ongoing conversations since that point in time around these real issues, and there's real acknowledgement. But there's work that's needed in terms of building capacity within the school. But I think that we can monitor these conditions. The other thing I just want to be super clear about with the board, members, public, and everybody, if they fail to meet these conditions, we don't have to wait to 3 years to non-renew them. We could pursue revocation if this serious level of non-compliance continues. So just want to make sure people are aware of that. That has its own legal process, but still that could be pursued if they're not able to fulfill these conditions. So I just also want to be clear about that. They, I think, are taking these things serious. They took serious actions in terms of changing their staffing. And so that's what leads to the recommendations.
So Commissioner Esposito, too, just read the condition. The school is, or the operator is responsible for hiring, but then we have to approve, right? So we are really heavily embedded in the operations, the day-to-day operations, in my opinion, of this operator. They need an external financial expert, but we've got to approve whoever they select. So I just, I want to point that out, that while they are doing the hiring, we are still approving who they select. So I want to go, do you have any other questions? I don't want to.
Oh, yeah, just a clarifying question. So if you had to say workload, is it harder to approve somebody, or is it harder to actually do the part that the charter school's responsible for? That's what I was trying to get to. So they have more of a time investment in making sure that these things happen, and then city schools is in a supportive role, an oversight role. I just want to make sure I understand.
They have the responsibility for oversight of the additional staff that they hire. So for this staffing, we will review and approve to make sure it meets our requirements as a district. Sorry, I'm getting an Amber Alert, so I don't know if you guys can hear that on my phone. Sorry if that interrupted this podcast. But the work that we have to do is just in monitoring and making sure that as issues come up, they're being addressed properly. And that sometimes the correction of challenges is what time can be expended. So it's in dealing with if new things come up, that takes time, because we have to make sure that students' needs are being met. We can't allow a school to not meet the needs of students. So it's in the correction of where things were not done properly. That takes, as what Dr. Santalisa is talking about, it takes central office staff time to investigate, to solve with them. But they have a lot of responsibility. We're not doing the work for them.
Yeah, and is there any type of tracking system to see how much time is being allotted to schools, or could we create something
That's what we're doing now.
Okay.
Okay, that's what we're doing now, Commissioner Esposito. It'll be like lawyer hours.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks, and then Commissioner Coy.
Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to lift two things. One, a concern. Again, this is the second time since I've been on the board that we are in this space with Baltimore Collegiate School for the Boys with a sort of conditional renewal. So I also joined Commissioner Chinya in that regard, showing my concern. I think my response here is buoyed by two things that I know for a fact that Dr. Santelises is not afraid to make hard decisions. So this recommendation that she's come forth with the support and trust in the really rigorous work that Angela Alvarez does with her team to vet and to sort of create structures of support. And ultimately this recommendation actually is really matters to me because I know that Angela's team does due diligence. And so because of that, I really appreciate all of that you all have done. And when I was thinking about whether or not, how I'm going to be thinking about decisions around whether or not to vote on this, what goes into that is that my confidence in both Angela's team and Dr. Santelises. And so for me, I believe that there will be enough runway, and if there is not, then I'm really grateful that we have alternative options, Angela. So thank you for letting us know. And that's all for me.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes, no, I appreciate, and first off, I just want to say thank you and echo those sentiments to both city school staff, Angela Alvarez and Tracy Carter and team, as well as the Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys and the entire team there. I certainly have struggled deeply with this recommendation. And generally, this is, it's something I've spent a lot of time looking at. I believe that such a school should exist in Baltimore and recognize that there's not an equivalent to the Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys. Ms. Alvarez, you made a point earlier about the operator if they do not meet conditions. And Commissioner Brooks, you highlighted that you were here last time, that it came up with conditions, and Chair Richardson, you also made that point earlier. One of the thoughts that has just been with me on repeat is the degree to which the Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys has been held to the conditions that previously were instituted, is the degree to which I feel confidence in the current conditions. And it's my understanding, but please correct me if I'm wrong on this, that it in the memo and the materials presented previously in working sessions, it does not appear to me that the conditions have been fully met in any of the 3 years since this renewal. And I guess that's my question to correct me if I'm wrong on that point. But that's I struggle with that fact and what that means for the serious considerations that were given previously for the education of our students, of Baltimore City students here at the school.
Yeah, so in terms of the prior renewal, there were conditions that were met, like finding a facility, improving in certain areas. There was some backsliding that happened last year that resulted in the notice of probation. And that's where the board got involved and took a more aggressive action. Because we were considering, do we pursue a notice of revocation last year? And they, took the really serious and difficult step of removing their founder, which is a very hard thing for institutions to do. I don't think it's just charters that are hesitant to do that, but lots of institutions have a hard time removing the person that brought you to the table, for lack of a better word. But they took it serious enough, and we did see improvement. So we started the year with a notice of probation, and we saw improvement, and we met regularly with them, and we saw improvement through last year. This year, we've changed in staff. We saw some things recur, but some of that we attribute to, bringing back staff who had left the district over a decade ago, and our rules are different. And so just getting up to speed. But that's also which leads us into some of the conditions you see here tonight, to make sure that they have someone advising them that understands the rules here and are helping them be compliant along the way in a day-to-day way that staff should not be doing, but that their staff should be doing. And so that's, you know, key to the first prediction, the personnel conditions here. So.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? All right, seeing no more hands, we can, oh, I'm sorry. Seeing no more hands, is there a motion?
Can I say something before you do the motion?
Sure.
Commissioner Chinia put forward an additional condition.
Okay.
And so if you guys want to consider that, you need to modify what was presented before you do the motion. If you want to
Could you repeat what her additional condition was? I think you captured it.
That they submit a recruitment plan approved by city schools to improve the number of certified teachers within their school above 50%.
Okay. Are my fellow colleagues in agreement with adding that as a condition? And if so, then Angela, I would just have you reread, if you could, reread the language that you start off with and then add that condition. But I do see a hand up, Commissioner Coy.
One question on this condition, the percentage of staff that should be certified. I know that when you were discussing that earlier, Commissioner Chinia, you referenced that was what they are that's your understanding of what their current staff is. I guess what is a reasonable percentage of staff certification levels? You know, is 50% what we should expect in this regard?
I don't know what the state would say. My reaction would be no, that is not what we should expect, because we have to let parents know when we don't have a certified teacher. And I know we're moving toward wanting everyone in the classroom to be. My concern is based on the numbers that were shared, where there were a high number of long-term substitutes. And just given the academic achievement, I don't think that's going to improve with folks who are not certified in those particular areas. So I would love it to be higher than 50. I use 50% because that's what was presented to us.
Okay. Commissioner Esposito and then Commissioner Kenyatta-Bay.
I just wanted to make sure that that percentage was only including teaching staff, or are there other staff that are factored into that percentage? And then also, do we know what percentage of new employees are coming in as teachers without certification? Because that may be another factor, because I know we had, like, overall, that was a process that City Schools was trying to improve.
My question was specifically teaching staff. If we're trying to offer COMAR regulated courses, I want to be certain that we have qualified instructors for those courses.
I feel like we need guidance from Chief Nielsen or someone from HC on what the proper percentage is if you want to do something more specific and then more. And so one thing I'm wondering is, could we take a moment, go to Coppin and come back to Collegiate, just so that we can maybe get an answer from her before you move on this one?
That sounds like a good idea, because definitely want to get the wording correct. But Commissioner Kenyatta-Bay, I saw your hand up and then it's down. Did you have a question? And you're on mute if you're speaking.
That was my same question. What are the percentages that we're looking for to achieve in certification, and it wasn't just the teaching staff that we're looking at. We've already made the difficult decision to cut the head of their organization to replace the head of the organization, and so therefore I have confidence in everything that has been done from city schools and their willingness to move forward.
Thank you. So just so that we're all on the same page, we're going to go to the next school to give the staff enough time to structure correctly the additional condition, and we'll come back for a vote for Baltimore Collegiate.
Just one thing, Angela, too, can you have your staff do the next one so that I can connect you, so you and I can talk with Emily quickly? You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Charver, can you handle the script for Coppin?
Yep.
Okay, great.
For the next recommendation, we're going to take a look at Coppin Academy. It is operated by Coppin State University. It was rated developing in the areas of academics and climate and effective in the area of financial management and governance. Some of the highlights include a highly effective rating in the area of the 4-year cohort graduation rate, where their 3-year average was 88%. They were developing for their absolute performance on the MCAT, where the average performance level of students for ELA 10 and Algebra 1 was a level 2, which is a level of partial proficiency. They were not effective in the area of college and career readiness, where they were placed in the 38th percentile. And that was based on the school's rate of participation of 41.6% and a success rate of 10.4% based on indicators of readiness for the class of 2021. And we also noted that there were 50% of graduates from the class of 2020 that were enrolled in college within 16 months of graduation. They were effective in vision and engagement from the school effectiveness review, and also effective in the area of the effective programming for students with disabilities. Mr. Roberts, I'll turn it over to you.
In accordance with the charter school policy and law, and based on consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session, and public hearings, and the contents of the official record, it is the recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Coppin State University to operate Coppin Academy be renewed for 3 years for a term that commences on July 1st, 2023 and ends on June 30th, 2026.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, is there a motion? Uh-oh, did I hear someone? Okay, is there a motion?
I move that based upon the consideration of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, the contents of the official record, and the factors listed in policy IHBJ and administrative regulation IHBJ-RA, including section 3K of the policy providing that the board may decide that a public charter school is not eligible for 2 consecutive partial renewals, that the board accept the CEO's recommendations as stated.
Thank you, Commissioner McFadden. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. All in favor, Commissioner McFadden,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes. Commissioner
Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Absolutely.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yeah.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
and I am in favor. This motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent. We'll need to go back at this point to Baltimore Collegiate. So checking on the staff, are you all ready or do you require more time?
We're still working on it. Can you give us just a few more minutes?
Sure. Sure. Commissioner Coy, you have a question?
Yes. As we've been discussing this, I want to reflect and I guess verbalize what I'm hearing from you, Dr. Santelises, and the team, which is a clear, statement of your desire and your team's desire to work with Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys. I've heard that in what you have been saying, not only in your initial recommendation, but also here tonight in your comments repeatedly as it relates to this recommendation. And I think my question and comment here is knowing that while many conditions or some of the conditions have been met that were previously set in place, but not all of the conditions were, and hearing what you said about if the conditions were not met, you would be not recommending them in the future. I'd like to hear from you what you would anticipate if the conditions were not met in years 1, 2, or 3 of the renewal. If you could speak a little bit to how you would approach that in the event that we have these conditions, we approve it, and they are not meeting them prior to year 3.
No, thank you for the question, Commissioner Coy, and thank you to the board for really wrestling with the seriousness of this particular case, because it is gnarly. And with that, I would say I don't think that there's a necessarily a formula, like if you don't hit this benchmark by this time. I think where we are, and this is why the time it requires from staff is a theme that continues to come up, because those conditions get monitored, right, along a continuum, right? And so there are things that you do at the beginning, and I'm just going to take my glasses off really quickly. If you look at the EEOC training, right, to improve practices in creating positive workplace atmosphere for staff, that's a good example. Well, there's one piece of that is actually setting up the training, right, making sure it happens. And that could be something that, great, within, before the next school year, right, that has to be underway, it has to be completed by a certain date. That's one element of the condition, but there's another element of the condition. And the other element of the condition is that there's actually qualitative evidence, right, and some quantitative measures that begin to point, thank you very much, Commissioner Coy, our acronym soup that we have. But that second phase of the work is implementation work. And frankly, is implementation work that I was having a conversation today with some ILEDs and of all things, a wonderful school math coach, right? And what I think is consistent in those conversations that applies to this is that implementation matters. There's the first level, that is, can you just get the structures in place? Can you make sure the training happens in this particular example, right? Can you make sure that you actually hire the financial expert, right, in that fourth bullet? But then there's going to be a place where we're going to have to say, is it actually having impact in the qualitative implementation of the day-to-day work? Which is why this operator is going to have to be smart about, it's about not just filling in the boxes, but getting the coaching and doing the testing along the way, so that when our team, when Ms. Carter and Ms. Alvarez go out, right, or are checking in, there's that kind of progress. So I just think it's important to know like that there are stages in each of these areas that's beyond just kind of a checkbook. So even though it says like provide and hire, from my perspective, it's not just about did you do that action, it's about the qualitative impact on the operation of the school and the quality of the education provided for young people. I don't know if that answers your question, Commissioner.
It does speak to it. Maybe I'll ask one more sort of a little bit more narrowly focused. In the past 3 years, there's been 2 notices of probation. And notice of probation are the highest level of concern that can be raised to a school. There's also an opportunity for a notice of concern. If there is another notice of probation or a notice of concern, how would you respond? How would you react to that in the coming 3 years?
So another notice of probation, particularly if it is in the same area, is clearly a major flag. And that's going to be something where, yeah, we might be coming back to the board. But I don't want to say, hey, one more letter of concern and 2 more letters of this. That means it's over. A lot of this is the severity. And I think, Commissioner Brooks, referenced some past, past instances where we have had major transgressions where we did not wait for a second or third because the first transgression and the posture of correction was not where it needed to be. And I came before this body and recommended for those schools to be closed because there was harm being done to children. So I don't want to kind of off the cuff talk about, just kind of rattle off, oh, if this one thing happens, because if the one thing that happens is severe enough, I will come back to this body. I will come back to the board and make that recommendation. So, yes, it is serious. Just like the one that we sent earlier this year was serious and could have very easily jeopardized, or I should say influenced me to make another recommendation to the board other than the one that I did. So yes, we'll take it seriously. The direct impact on, the running of the school. And frankly, I would hope with all of this discussion, scrutiny from the board, it's clear, at least to me, that you all are taking this incredibly seriously. I would hope that the operator and this team is hearing that it is not just the CEO, but it is the Board of Commissioners. And therefore, there's no need, I would stay very far away from skating on the thin ice of this pond. Like, it's now time to talk about not getting more letters, but how we actually get traction.
So Dr. Santelises, on that note, and this is, I'll end it here. We're having to approve a lot of big stuff for them. We make an approval on a staffing thing and that staff doesn't work out, right? Are they looking at us like, well, you guys approved the person? Or is the ownership still on them? I think we are so in bed with this that it makes me uncomfortable to have to be in the seat of approving personnel, approving financial companies for a small business unit, right? That's, anyway.
No, that part is fair. And I think it's the right push, and I welcome that push from the board. I think the board collectively has been asking all the right questions, and I welcome it, frankly, because I think it's the level of accountability that we all need. But I will be very direct in saying, even though there is an approval piece in here, I am very clear that this is the operator's responsibility, because it gets back to what, this theme of, so then what does it mean to be a charter if we have to walk you through everything? You might as well just be a traditional school, and we give you tons of support. So I think it is the right question. It is one you should ask, but I want to be very clear publicly and to the full board that in these items, when it comes to hiring their staff, in the same way that we held the operator responsible for, the last principal they had in, and the fact that they had large turnover in school leaders in the earlier years before they made the hard decision to change the founder, to shift away from the founder. It is the same thing here. So I will go on the record as saying that is not I am not owning their hiring of anybody. They have to do the same supervision as everybody else. I think what you see in the guardrails here is just our ability to weigh in more heavily. I mean, there are charters all the time who hire people that I don't think they should hire. Sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes I'm right, but I acknowledge their right to do that because that's what it means to be a charter. And in this case, absolutely, I am not taking responsibility for their hires in no way, shape, or form.
Thank you for that. Are we ready to vote?
So I just want to just come back to Commissioner Chinia. So we did get to talk to Chief Nielsen, and I also just want to be clear about the thing that you notice and that we're talking about because it gives us different language after consulting with her. So I just want to be super clear, and then give you a chance, Commissioner Chinia, to also clarify if I'm misunderstanding your understanding of the staffing in the school. So we're talking about instructional staff because I know that was a back and forth. Many of the instructional staff in the school are substitutes and not staff that are certified, we have all different levels of certification. And so so we're talking about making sure that they're fully staffed, right? Then it's still a condition around our recruitment strategy, but it's to ensure that they're fully staffed at a fill rate that's above 80%. That would be the condition. That the concern we're talking about are subs, people who are not in any kind of certification that are within the school. But I just want to be clarified because we talked about what we're talking about.
Yeah, that makes sense to me what you just said. I'm getting, and I didn't really mean to hold this up, that much in terms of the conversation, but yeah, I believe 80% sounds a lot better than, my big concern is just the low number of folks. And I'm not despairing substitutes, but if we're really talking about trying to offer high quality courses that are required, then I think we need to be certain that we have the folks that have the qualifications.
Okay, so with that, I'm going to reread the recommendation with that additional condition. So based on the consideration of the operator renewal report, testimony at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, including tonight, and contents of the official record, it is a recommendation of the CEO that the contract with Five Smooth Stones Foundation, Inc. to operate Baltimore Collegiate School for Boys be renewed for 3 years for a term that commences on July 1, 2023 and ends on June 30th, 2026 with the following conditions. The operator hires personnel located in the Baltimore area and approved by city schools who is knowledgeable in K-12 education and requirements for public and charter schools in the state of Maryland. The operator shows improvement in delivery of special education services and ensures complete compliance with requirements, improvement in practices around student behavior, and complete compliance with due process for students, extensions of students, ensure compliance with the scheduling of complete compliance with the scheduling of COMAR required courses, ensure complete compliance with collectively bargained agreements, ensure complete compliance with grant management, and demonstrates an overall improvement in operator capacity. That the operator provides on-site EEO training to improve practices in creating positive workplace atmosphere for staff. The sessions be held for school leadership, both operator leadership and school-based leadership, as well as the staff of the school, and that those sessions be scheduled to take place prior to the end of the current school year. The operator hires an external financial expert approved by city schools to ensure the operator's management of funds meets legal and fiduciary requirements, including improving internal controls and use and management of grant and other funds. That the operator submits a recruitment plan approved by city schools to ensure that they meet an above 80% fill rate for staffing, for instructional staff within their school.
I concur with the recommendation as stated.
So I think we can move for a vote. We've asked questions and had tons of comments. So is there a motion? Okay, if there's no motion.
I don't have a script, but I motion for approval.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to read the words. So someone with the
Somebody has a script. I don't have a script.
I have the script.
Okay, so I
Can someone?
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, can someone correct me if I want to make sure I got the right part. I move that based upon the consideration of the recommendations and rationale of the CEO, the operator renewal report, the testimony given at the operator renewal work session and public hearings, the contents of the official record, and the factors listed in policy IHBJ and administrative regulation IHBJ-RA, that the board accept the CEO's recommendation as stated.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll take Commissioner Reed. Thank you, Commissioner Reed. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
No.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
No.
Commissioner Coy?
You're doing that?
I want to make one comment with my vote, if I may, Chair Richardson.
Go ahead.
I want to say something to you, Dr. Sandelises, and to the team, the Baltimore Collegiate team at Five Stones Foundation, which is, Dr. Sandelises, your comments here and the conversation here. I want to say with my vote that I am following your leadership in making a strong case for this, and I want the team at Five Smooth Stones Foundation to know I've been there multiple times in the past week. They can anticipate me spending time over the next year plus, ensuring that the conditions and the work that they are committing to here with this, there's a lot of work that is needed, and it is a tough decision to make and to make this recommendation. And I hear you and your team saying that you are willing to put in the work to do this. So with that, I will vote yes.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Coy. Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
No.
Commissioner Sally?
No.
And I'm opposed. This motion passes with 6 in favor and 5 opposed. One second.
No, I think Board Chair, this is
Tanisha. Go ahead, Tanisha. Mm-hmm.
By my vote, I have 5 yes and 5 no.
5 and 5.
Yeah,
Oh,
5 and 5.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right, because there are only 10 of us here tonight. So this is split in half. Where's my CLO?
Sheet 7.
Does not carry.
Thank you
This
so
is
much.
Dewana.
It does not carry?
Yeah, you have to have a majority.
You have to have a majority. So the motion failed.
Yes.
Okay. This motion failed. Thank you for the catch, Tanisha. I'm sorry, I did the wrong count. I want to thank my fellow board commissioners.
No, can I
You got to put forward something
Can I raise
new.
a question?
Oh, we have to do something new. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Reed.
So it fails, but what fails?
The motion to
current-
approve.
Yeah.
The motion was based on all the things that she read, is to accept the CEO's recommendation as stated, which was to approve the 3-year with conditions.
Okay, so
that went
so
5 and
being-
5.
So being 5 and 5, where do we go? Because the school's already there.
Oh, no. So hold on, before we go there, Commissioner Reed, there is a point of order that Angela was about to help us walk through, which is what's next in this particular conversation.
Thank you.
About this vote.
Yeah. So you guys have to put forward a different motion. You have to, so because it failed, you have to put something else on the table to be considered.
Correct, Angela, chiming in.
That is correct. I kind of feel like if we went to reject the CEO's recommendation, we're still going to be 5 and 5. So is there an appropriate motion in this moment that we can vote on? It could, the last option is to defer this for further study and consideration.
And how should that motion be made?
Before you do that, let me just, if I can, if I'm allowed to do this. So Josh, interrupt me if I'm wrong about this, but I just want to be, Chief Sivan, sorry. I just want to be.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
No, you're right. I just want to, if there are timing things with these things. If you defer it, which you could, we just need to be cognizant of timing. And so one of the things that we're in right now is lotteries. So people are applying the lotteries. I just want us to be thoughtful about timing. And there are rules, and Chief Sivan can correct me too, around how long you can defer for in terms of if you want to pursue something other than renewal. If you want to pursue something like closure, there is timing requirements. There's a timing period where it's too late for that to go forward. So I just want to, as you put that in, just to be cognizant around timing. So if you defer it, you can't defer, like I don't think we can go past the month of March, just to be super clear. And even with this delay, it impacts where families are with choice. We can recover from that, but I just want you to understand the implications of deferral.
So I appreciate that. And my question with the motion of deferring is, right, defer for what, right? Like, I think we have done all the research in the study, but I see Commissioner Coy's hand up. So I want to take that question.
Yes, I feel, I just want to encourage us, for the sake of the school and of the team and the work that has gone to get to this point, to consider what might allow us to arrive at a conclusion tonight. I don't think it does, that prolonging the decision will be in the benefit of anyone in this scenario. And so I guess I would ask if there's any commissioner that would have a factor that would compel them to change their vote, right? One vote difference and a motion passes one way or the other.
Okay, thank you for that. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
My question was based on, it still stands. I wanted to know what language would be used to request a deferment, because I
do you not have the script?
Yeah, I think this takes just a little bit more consideration than we can do tonight.
Okay. So right now we have on the table from our two commissioners, Commissioner Coy is saying, what would be a condition that would allow, I'm paraphrasing, but that would allow those of us who oppose this. Is that what you're asking?
I mean, frankly, it goes both ways, but one vote change does make a motion viable to pass. And so I think my question is there something, and knowing that, knowing the weight of that, even if we called for a second vote, somebody may sort of consider the weight of that, knowing that it is completely evenly split.
Thank you. Commissioner Roberts, and then we'll get to Commissioner Kenyatta Bay's. He just is looking for, can someone email Commissioner Kenyatta Bay the script? Because he just needs the words.
Can I, Commissioner?
Yes,
Richardson?
I'll resend, Chair.
Thank you so much. Hold on. Was that Chief Siddons?
Yes, I would prefer that somebody read it out loud because we shouldn't be emailing among commissioners during meetings.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you for that. So we can't email to you, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
I can share the language. I can
yes,
share the
please.
language.
All right. Before you do that, I do want to get to Commissioner Roberts, and then you can share with Commissioner Kenyatta Bay the language. Commissioner Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to offer for consideration honoring the amount of work that the district has done since inception of this school community and over this last renewal cycle. I will share again that I do not have confidence in this school leadership team to implement these very prescriptive, these very targeted areas of condition. I don't think that prolonging the process would make a change, quite honestly. While we could intentionally set metrics and we could intentionally set benchmarks to, again, attempt to support the school community, I do not have faith that we will see the improvement that we are all very hopeful to see. I am hopeful that, in the near future, if the school community were given another opportunity to propose another charter school option in the future with a more robust offering, with a more intentional strategic plan, that would come to manifestation. But at this time, I do not have faith in this school leadership team.
Okay, I'm in agreement with that fully. I'm at a hard no. So let's see. Could you read to Commissioner Kenyatta Bay the language so that he has it?
Yeah. So the motion would be to defer the CEO's recommendation for further study and consideration to X date. So you got to say when, to the next meeting in March, like you just be specific about the date, the time period for that deferment. And if you can also you could just say for further study, or you could be more prescriptive and to Commissioner Coy's question about what you would want to see in order to, what that further study would include.
And just so you know, there is a meeting on February 28th. You could use that meeting. That's a date, February 28th, or there is the next meeting after that is March 14th.
May I put a motion forward? I move that we defer the CEO's motion for the continuance of 3 years with condition to February the 28th, pending further study and more community input.
Does that suffice? We didn't do the preamble language. Does his motion suffice? We didn't do the based on the considerations, blah, blah, blah. Do we need to do that? Am I on mute? Oh.
No, you're not on mute.
Okay.
Not for
I'm just looking. I don't know if Chief said.
Okay.
I'm just trying to look back I
Hi,
think we're in a
not for a
different place for the motion, but Chief Simmons should weigh in.
He,
Hello,
I thought I
not for
heard
a
him say no.
not for a motion to postpone.
Okay, thank you. All right, so is there a second?
Second, Brooks.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
No.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
I'm going to say yes in hopes that we have the full board present for that vote.
Commissioner Coy?
No.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts? You're on mute if you answered. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No.
Commissioner Sally?
No.
And I'm at a no as well. So, geez.
It's
That
5-5
motion,
again.
yeah, that motion failed.
It's a fucking game for these people.
I'm only taking questions from board commissioners, so thank you at this time. And Chief Simmons or Dewana Starrett, we are at a stalemate.
I don't know if the board has another motion in mind that maybe if the conditions were modified or something, but
Like, could there be a condition to change the operator? Like, is that up to us?
Yeah.
We can do that? Can we?
This is Chief Simmons. You are renewing the operator, so I think that it would stand to reason that it would have to be this operator.
Okay. Yeah. I don't see how we move forward. Commissioner Coy?
Is there, and I guess this is for those that oppose the first motion to renew with conditions, would there be a condition related to the operator? You know, the operator is comprised of, I guess, two components as I see it: the board of directors and the staff that they hire. Is there a condition that would relate to the operator that would give you the willingness or the confidence to approve the CEO's motion or recommendation rather?
Let me see for a moment. I have no confidence in this operator. So the answer is no for me.
Chair Richardson, and we're hearing that similarly with multiple members of the board, whether members of the board are in favor of the recommendation of the CEO or not. There are challenges with the operator. And as a result, our children have been impacted by what has occurred at the school under the current operator's leadership. So I just want to raise that. Yes, there are, commissioners who are supporting the CEO's recommendation with the conditions, while those commissioners also have challenges with the operator and the outcomes for our young people and the challenges that we all have heard, noted, observed, gone to the school, several to visit, looked at the information. And so I just want us to consider that. There's going to be, as we've heard, quite a bit of additional time, extra time, that may be at the expense of city schools supporting this particular operator, given that we have close to 70% of the state's charter schools here in our system. That's a heavy lift. So yes, while I appreciate the revisions that the operator has made, and also the work that our charter, that the Office of Newton, all the city school staff has put in. Thank you for that work. However, we do have to move forward and take into consideration our young people, their outcomes, families, and the expense that we will incur as a result of the additional support that we're going to put in to this operator potentially, if the board decides to move forward.
Thank you. And I want to add, and the precedent it sets, right? Given this level of really support operating their company. I see Commissioner Esposito's hand, and then Commissioner Brooks, I believe that's your hand too, in that order.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if there's an opportunity for the community support to play a factor in the decision-making process. Because in my mind, the community are subject matter experts of the day-to-day experience of the schools. Even if we show up one day to, do an observation or do external evaluations, I think the one thing that we aren't considering is how much community support is poured into the school. Because I believe I'm the only one that attended the meeting where they were discussing the issue with the potential non-renewal, and the community support for me was loud and clear. And I think it would be of value for the school board to hear from parents, hear from the kids about how this change, like the changes that we've seen documented, how they've actually impacted the school on the ground level. So I think being able to allow them to advocate for themselves may be the tiebreaker. Is that possible? And I also think that now that we have elected members, there is also a lot more community engagement that is brought directly into the school board.
Thank you for that. I want to be clear, given that statement, that there have been a number of opportunities and the community has come out and we have heard from them. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to say. We've also heard opposing. I've heard community voice that want them closed as well. And we've all received that information to our emails as well. We are even receiving some in the chat tonight. I want to go to Commissioner Brooks and then, Commissioner Brooks, I'm sorry, go.
Sorry, my phone is starting to spaz out, probably because it's overheating. I just wanted to just lift that, again, this is one of the spaces where I'm thinking about sort of systemically, like how we treated other charters in similar situations. And then two, as I stated earlier, that if there was any substantive harm by this operator for our children, the recommendation would have been different from the CEO and Angela's office. And so from my perspective, what would change my mind is if the recommendation from the CEO had changed. But because the diligence of Angela's office and the recommendation of the CEO, I'm in agreement that I am trusting that if there was anything that was so detrimental to our students' success in that space, that we would see a different recommendation. And so for me, I am a very clear yes on that accepting the recommendation with Commissioner Chinya's sort of amendment to this process.
Thank you, Commissioner Brooks. I wonder if we should go into closed session and get legal advice at this point. And if you all agree, if someone can make a motion for that.
Madam Chair, what is the motion?
To close this meeting, go into closed session to get legal advice from our attorney, and then come back to the public meeting.
Madam Chair, is that administrative function?
Yes.
May I bring forth the motion?
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Sally.
Thank you, Commissioner Sally. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden,
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks, Commissioner Chinya,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally,
Yes.
and I am in favor. Commissioner Brooks, are you opposed?
No, I'm
your
here. It's just
phone.
that my phone is passing out. Yeah, it's okay, but I'm in favor.
Are you in favor? Okay. That motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent. We'll move to closed session. Thank you.
You should be able to use the link that you had for the earlier one.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. when we're all back.
We're waiting for something, or?
I'm trying to see if everybody's back.
Okay.
Commissioner Brooks. So you're here. I see Sally. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Is Kenyatta Bay? Oh, I see you. You're right in front of me. Who's Esposito and Reed?
I'm here.
You're here?
Yeah, it's actually Esposito.
Oh, okay, thank you. So you're here. Commissioner Reed, oh, and I just saw him. Okay, we're all back. And I want to thank the public for allowing us some time to confer with our Chief Legal Officer. I want to offer for my fellow commissioners, is there a motion that someone wants to put on the table?
Do we need a motion to close the, or I guess we return the?
We gotta, do we have to open it back? We have to open it back.
Madam Chair, I was about to say you should open the meeting and for a roll call. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much
I'll put the
for that
motion.
point of order.
To reopen.
So is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
Yes, Coy.
Thank you, Commissioner Coy. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner
Second,
Sally.
Esposito.
I heard Commissioner Sally. Thank you. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes.
Commissioner Sally?
Yes.
And I'm here. That makes us 10 present with 1 absent. Is there a motion on the table for Baltimore Collegiate?
Yes, this is Commissioner Brooks.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that given that we are at a 5-5 split, a deadlock, that we move to defer this vote until our next upcoming meeting in February, which would be the 28th.
Is there a second?
I second. Kenyatta Bay.
Thank you. All in favor? Commissioner McFadden?
Yes.
Commissioner Brooks?
Yes.
Commissioner Chinya?
Yes.
Commissioner Coy?
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito?
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts? Commissioner Sally?
Yes, I'm in favor.
And I am in favor. That motion passes with 10 in favor and 1 absent. So this conversation will pick up in the next upcoming meeting. Okay. Notice of our upcoming meetings. We have our executive session and public
Chair
meeting.
Richardson.
Yes.
Commissioner Coy has his hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. Commissioner Coy?
No, it was just to sort of, I guess, ask or offer up if there was any desire for additional conversation, right? We've deferred the vote, but if there was any desire before we were to sort of make a motion to adjourn the meeting, for any additional conversation, for this evening. I do think if folks are interested in having a dialogue, now could be an appropriate time to have that. We obviously can have it at the future meeting.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments from any of my fellow commissioners? I will say this again. I said it before, I'll say it again. I do worry about the precedent set with the amount of time that our staff is going to be spending helping this operator. So that is just something that I just want to put out there. I do not have confidence that this operator can do the work independently, which is what we would want our operators to be able to do. So are there any other comments or questions from the commissioners at this point? Commissioner Coy.
Yeah, just one comment that I would like to make perhaps for the benefit of the public, just to understand as a new commissioner coming in and understanding the Open Meetings Act and what we discuss in closed meetings, perhaps just if you would indulge me, Chair Richardson, to just say a few words on that.
Sure.
The topics that are permissible in a closed session are those that relate to matters of legal. And some of the items that we were trying to understand is what are our full set of options at this point? What are the, when do we need to make a decision by? What are the considerations for how we can vote in this moment? And so knowing what those different voting options and the implications, right? It is not common to be in this spot and not wanting to do something that was unintentionally complicating the situation. So I just want to offer that up as some insight, and also that it is bounded, that conversations in closed session are not to be discussing the merits or the reason or the rationale behind certain decisions. So that's something that matters, and that although it took us a while to sort of go through all the different options, this is where we are discussing the merits and concerns and the considerations.
Thank you, Commissioner Coy. Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. So we do have several upcoming meetings. We meet again as a full board on Tuesday, February the 28th at 5 p.m. Our Teaching and Learning Committee will be meeting on March the 7th at 3:30. That is a virtual meeting. Our Operations Committee will be meeting on March 21st at 10:30 a.m. That is also a virtual meeting. And then our Policy Committee will be meeting on Tuesday the 21st as well at 4 p.m., which is a virtual meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Commissioner Sapp.
Not a shortage of that motion. I will take Commissioner Brooks. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor? Just say aye.
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 Okay. Have a good night, everyone. Be safe, and thank you so much for all your work. Bye.
Peace.